We need to hurry and escort him to the venue right away. Ted and the others started panicking. We're not done talking yet. Just one person. Escort Eric to the venue. The rest of you, shall we have a nice long chat? Katie said this with a frighteningly beautiful smile. Yes, you there. Please show the way. Yes. Make sure you come back after showing him. Yes, ma'am. I was escorted out of the owner's suite by the chosen staff member. I headed for the venue, cheering in my heart. Hang in there, staff member. Eventually, I managed to arrive at the venue. The staff member who escorted me returned with teary eyes. Watching him go, I entered the venue where my opponent for this match, the esteemed Master Smith, was already glaring at me. Master Smith, a prominent figure in the chess world, holds the master title. He's also my mentor and the person I aspire to. I was looking forward to challenging him this time. Master Smith, who had been glaring, suddenly relaxed his expression. Eric, late again, he said with a laugh, and I smiled back. I was looking at the map upside down with my wife. Haha, you two are as clueless as ever. Embarrassed by my mentor's laughter, I scratched my head. Katie had also learned chess from Master Smith in the past, but she quit saying, "It's not fun because I always lose to Eric." Are you Eric? Yes, that's me. I'm an acquaintance of Pete. How about trying chess? Go. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Originally, Master Smith became my mentor through his old connection with Pete. You two still got along so well. Really, what a great mentor-mini relationship. This match has caught the chess world's attention as a battle between mentor and mentee, hasn't it? The clash of similar minds. It's going to be exciting. The fact that Master Smith and I have a mentor-mini relationship was well known, and the press conference proceeded in a relaxed manner. Fortunately, it ended successfully. Phew, glad that's over with. Haha, you're still so laid back, aren't you? Is that so? Master Smith said this while looking at me, but when it comes to the match, you transform into someone else. He sighed, saying this. I don't really understand it myself. Katie's the same, right? Master Smith said, somewhat exasperated as I chuckled. Indeed, when it comes to business, Katie becomes a strict businesswoman. Normally more absent-minded than me, but as an owner like earlier, she has a stern side, especially when she's angry. I imagine Katie is still giving someone a lecture right now. She was scarier earlier, but also incredibly cool. During chess matches, your gaze sharpens and you demonstrate incredible concentration. Your style of chess is aggressive, always on the offensive. Well, I do often get that kind of feedback. That fluffy personality of yours comes up with moves that are unexpectedly tricky, honestly making it difficult to play against you. Master Smith, my mentor, commented like this. But has he forgotten? It was none other than Master Smith who taught me this style of chess. My chess playing style is basically what I learned from him. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, he said, extending his hand. Yes, me too. I took his hand and shook it firmly. We exchanged a solid handshake. The master title matches are a best of 7 series, touring hotels and inns nationwide. Each match lasts 8 hours, spanning over 2 days. Media like the sponsoring newspapers gather, but despite being professional matches, they generally don't attract much public attention. That's probably why Marissa didn't know I was a professional chess player. Since I was young, I was acknowledged by my mentor, Master Smith, for having a good sense for the game and received his guidance. Pete was right. You have a good sense. Eric, would you become my official disciple? Will that make me better? Yes, with your potential, you'll improve rapidly. I thought so. Eric would definitely become John's favorite, Pete had said. It was a connection made through him. I improved quickly, but it took several attempts before passing the professional exams in middle and high school. I attended local public schools and was so absorbed in chess that my academic and sports performance were mediocre. I guess I was a rather unnoticeable student. I used to target you for bullying because you were so unimpressive back then. Efferly, Eric, you are so natural. Maybe you didn't even notice the bullying because of that. When I reunited with Katie, Marissa was also there. Hey, you, the gloomy one. You're dark, but can't even study well. What's that about? What, you guys? Eric isn't so free to bother with you. Huh. Thinking back, there was indeed a group that often bothered me. But truly, at that time, I was only concerned with chess and the support I received from Katie, so I didn't notice it at all. It was most annoyed that you ignored us. I wasn't ignoring them on purpose. They were simply not on my radar. According to Marissa's story. Hey, I heard Eric hasn't decided on his future path yet. Efferly, even though he's a senior. Sure, almost everyone's going to college and have secured a place. Eric is just different. Right. In high school, where most students were focused on advancing to college, my undecided path seemed out of place. Katie, listen, I finally passed the pro exam. Really? That's great. You've been working hard, Eric. Yes. And there's something else I want to tell you. Meanwhile, I passed the pro exam in my senior year of high school. I became a professional chess player, but most of my classmates were unaware of this fact and remembered only that I didn't pursue further studies. It makes sense they didn't know, as I didn't really tell anyone but Katie. By the way, it was around that time that I confessed to Katie and we officially started dating. I wanted to apologize. And, I'm sorry, but can we stop this now? I have an important match coming up. Please don't involve me in this. I see. Marissa, I'm ordering you to undergo retraining. Also, you are to be under suspension for a while. Make sure you don't show your face around us. Understood. It seemed like Marissa had backed down for the moment, though it was as if none of this had happened. The next day, after the first day of the match ended and I was about to return to my room, the next move should be, no, that would be counted. Then maybe, Eric. Marissa. On my way, I ran into Marissa, who was supposed to be under suspension. I really wanted to apologize. Maybe we could go for dinner later. I'm busy right now. Just leave me alone. I replied casually, my mind completely occupied with chess. Master Smith is indeed strong. I need to focus for tomorrow's match. I didn't know you were a professional chess player. Is the Master Tournament the big deal? You're amazing, Eric. I always knew you were different from others. I've actually liked you since we were young, you know. That's why I was mean to you back then. Hey, are you even listening to me? Hello. When I was distracted by thoughts of chess, Marissa grabbed my arm. Could you let go, please? Stop it. Katie intervened. She made Marissa let go of my arm, stepping between me and Marissa. Oh. Marissa seemed momentarily intimidated by Katie's presence. Don't interfere. She quickly snapped back in anger. You're the one interfering. This is an important time. Weren't you supposed to be under suspension? Weren't you told not to show your face? Can you understand that? That doesn't matter. Besides, professional chess players earn a lot, right? You're just after his money, aren't you? Katie clearly looked exasperated by Marissa's provocation. Are you serious? I am the owner here. I earn my own money. Katie said this emphatically and deliberately to Marissa. Then give him up to me. What? Both Katie and I involuntarily expressed our confusion at her incomprehensible words. Absolutely not. What do you even like about Eric? How the many things can you list? Well, that's. I've been watching Eric since we were little. I love everything about him, the good and the bad. Even if he becomes penniless, bald, or fat in the future, no matter what happens, I will always love him. Marissa sounded slightly taken aback by Katie's intense declaration. Meanwhile, I felt my whole body warming up. Hey, Katie, I'm happy, but that's dumb. Embarrassing. You know, my face was probably beet red at that moment. Cough. I have an important wife, so I can't even think of being with someone else. I've only ever thought of Katie. I can't imagine anyone but her by my side. She is the only one for me. No matter what happens in the future, I'll always love only her. Hey, you two. I said this looking straight at Marissa. Stupid couple. Perfect for each other. You idiots. Marissa threw out these words and stormed off. Left alone. All we could do is laugh together with our faces still red. Shall we head to our room then? Yeah. The first match of the Master Tournament ended with Master Smith's victory. Honestly, it was very frustrating. But it's not over yet. Without thought, I switched my mindset. Mr. Wilson, I'm truly sorry for what happened. At checkout, Manager Ted came to see us off. He apologized deeply once again. Marissa resigned from her job today. Oh, I only asked for her suspension, not for her to be fired. It was her own decision. According to Ted, that stupid couple. I can never win against Katie. I just want to forget everything. Please let me resign. Marissa had said. Listen, the quality of the employees is determined by your management as the manager. Make sure you properly re-educate your staff. Yes, ma'am. Katie firmly reminded Ted with a slightly intimidating smile. I'll come for an inspection again soon. With those words from Katie, we set off on our way home. Quite an eventful trip, huh? I reflected on the trip. I never expected to be involved in such trouble the day before the match. It was quite intense. I chuckled to myself. However, I got to see my wife acting cool as a business owner, and heard words of love, too. It was a worthwhile trip. Now, I need to win the next match and show my best. A week later. Good job. Uh, Thank you. I had just finished the Master Tournament. Thanks to being able to focus well after the match with Master Smith, I think I performed quite well. Tomorrow, our parents want to celebrate for you. Really? It's going to be a big gathering again, huh? Haha, yes. Both our dads took time off work just to watch the Master Tournament and got scolded by our moms. Haha, I can imagine. I bet they're eagerly waiting for us to come back now. Maybe. We both laughed, thinking about our parents. How about we go on a trip after things settle down? That sounds good. Actually, I was planning to visit that hotel again for an inspection. Last time was for me, so next time I'll adjust to your schedule. Thank you. And by the way, I was really happy about those words of love you said then. Oh, stop. I was happy too, about the words you said that time. We both turned red again. Even though we've been together for so long, this is something we just can't get used to. It's really scary how both the owner and her father are so intimidating. Was Pete also a scary person? Just, I've been patronizing this hotel since her father's time. He was kind too, but very strict about business. I saw a glimpse of her father in her that time. Just like Pete, huh? You also become like that during chess matches. It's something I often hear. Well, for me, Pete is like another dad. Is that so? Eric, what are you talking about with Ted? Just discussing things about you and Pete. I see. By the way, Marissa apparently had a tough time after leaving that hotel. She couldn't find employment at other hotels because the rumors had spread. In addition to that, she approached various men who seemed to have good incomes, only to be shunned, and ultimately got deceived by a bad man, ending up in debt. Now, she's struggling with a busy life, juggling jobs she once looked down upon, like cleaning and construction work. After a while, a former classmate told me about Marissa's situation. Eventually, she reached out to her old classmates for help and then disappeared from sight. Katie, what? Please stay with me forever. Of course, even after we become grandparents, we'll always be together. We held each other's hands and made a promise for the future. A few years later, we became parents to 2 children. Our son has been studying hard since he was little, intending to take over Katie's role, and our daughter is fascinated by chess, saying she wants to become a player and play against me. Master Smith is also enthusiastically teaching her, hoping she'll surpass me. Watching them, Katie and I smiled at each other. I've received so much support from you. Thank you, Katie, truly. I should be the one thanking you. Eric. Seeing you work hard made me want to do my best too. I'm so glad to have you. Me too. I'm really glad to have you. I've loved you in the past, now, and will continue to do so in the future. Me too. Uh, Mom and Dad are being lovey-dovey again. Teased by our children. We both turned red. You both will definitely find someone you'll want to be with forever. Support each other and stay close. Okay, I want to continue being close to my dear Katie. Of course, together with our children. Man, I'm beat today, yawn. In the crowded train during the morning rush hour, I let out a big yawn. Right now, I'm working at a bar until the wee hours of the morning. Until last month, I was working as a salesperson at a food manufacturing company. I worked diligently for 20 years. I was a veteran employee. In my job, I had a good client base and my sales performance wasn't bad. In the past, I even won a CEO's award and was promoted year after year. The shadow cast over my otherwise smooth sailing career began with an incident this spring. It all started when our parent company was caught cutting corners in the product manufacturing process, creating a big scandal. My company, caught in the fallout, site's financial situation worsened. Higher paid managers were encouraged to take early retirement, and I ended up being indirectly laid off in a roundabout way. The severance pay was meager, and unemployment benefits alone weren't enough to cover living expenses. I didn't have kids, so there was no child support to worry about, but I was paying for not only the house and car loans, but also the care expenses for my dad, who is ill and in a facility. I needed to find a job as soon as possible. Any job would do, as long as it provided a stable income. The day after I was told about the layoff, I heard that a longtime employee had quit the bar I always visited after work, so I immediately asked for a job. Working nights came with a decent pay bump. I started working at the bar right after leaving the company. Working late hours is pretty tough, but I've gotten used to it. Tired from work, I rang my home's doorbell. Usually my wife, Linda, would open the door right away, but this time she didn't come out. What's going on? I used my key to open the door. I'm home. Linda was sitting at the dining table chair. Despite it being morning, the curtains were still drawn, and the room was pitch dark. Sensing the bizarre situation, I called out to her while looking at her back. Hey, is something wrong? Then she turned around to face me. Please, let's get a divorce. She muttered just that and bowed her head. What? What's going on all of a sudden? I've fallen for someone else. That's why. No matter how much I asked for a reason, she insisted on getting a divorce, because she had fallen for someone else. I couldn't comprehend what had happened so suddenly, and I was at a loss for words. Linda and I had been married for 4 years. We were originally from the same hometown and high school classmates, reuniting at a class reunion. Both of us had moved to the city and found out we worked nearby, so we started going out for meals after work. Our relationship quickly developed, and it didn't take long before we decided to get married. After getting married, I didn't want to overburden her, so I asked her to quit her job and become a housewife. Since we married later in life, we hadn't planned on having kids. Linda had worked to her limits and didn't seem to have the energy for child rearing. We always talked things through and shared our feelings, and I was content thinking we were a happy couple. But that was all my assumption. Who was this person she had fallen for? Since when had she been interested in this person? Or were they already close? I had a ton of questions I wanted to ask. Just give me some time alone, please. In the silent room, I reflected on what my wife had told me. I didn't think I was such a terrible husband to be handed a divorce. I wasn't a drinker, nor did I gamble. I didn't have a history of messing around with other women. I thought I had always been kind to my wife. Thought I had. Since we got married, I had always been busy with work, coming home late every day and spending weekend just sleeping due to exhaustion, hardly ever finding time to talk. Then I got laid off and started working nights. It happened a long time since we last enjoyed time together. Maybe my wife felt lonely being alone. We never even had time to talk about it. It wouldn't be strange if she found someone else who had what I lacked, something that made her unhappy. It was the result of my failure to make her happy. I suppressed my desire to cling to her and decided to accept the divorce. After that, she packed her things and left immediately, and I was left to live alone. Another day well done, she would say with a smile every day. The days I took for granted now seem like a dream. Since then, I threw myself into work every day to forget her. The bar job was harder than I thought. The business hours were from evening till 5 a.m., open 365 days a year, no days off. Besides the regular operations, there was a lot to do, making sales reports, training and cooking, submitting reports, attending meetings. There were days I had training from 9 a.m. after finishing work at 5 a.m. I hardly had any time to sleep. But the quietness of a home without my wife was unbearable, so the tough routine was just what I needed. I was totally engrossed in my work. Max, this month our store sales are in the top 5 nationwide, my colleague said. Oh, is that so? Sales reflect customer satisfaction. It means we've really made them happy, I replied. Yes, indeed. We've been getting a lot of praise from customers lately. Just the other day, I gave a customer some soda water to clean a sauce bowl on their clothes. It worked perfectly, and they were so pleased that they sent a thank you email to our store. Your trick really worked wonders, my colleague shared. That's great to hear, I said. I was recognized for my achievements and became the manager, working harder than ever. Then it happened. One morning, when I tried to get up, I found I couldn't stand. Suddenly, I was like a puppet with its strings cut, unable to move. After a while, I could slowly get up and managed to call a taxi to rush to the hospital. The doctor advised several months of rest. I was in a state of extreme exhaustion. Lying at home, I would see visions of my wife. Are you okay? I've made some soup, she'd say. But she's not here anymore. Let me forget. Unable to bear being alone, I decided to visit my mom's house in the countryside when I could move a bit. My parents' home was originally a vegetable farm, now just my mom managing it modestly, selling produce in the town market. My dad had fallen ill a few years ago and had been in and out of the hospital. The scenery of my childhood home, where I lived until high school, was as tranquil as if time had stopped. It's been a while, returning home after so many years. My mom was still energetic as always. You get laid off, then suddenly started working all night, and now a divorce. You're just worn out, both physically and mentally. You should rest up here for a while, she said. Yeah, I will, I agreed. At home, I ate the fresh vegetables my mom grew and just slept, leading a simple life. The clear air in the countryside and delicious vegetables seemed to be healing my tired body and soul. After a while, feeling much better and energized, I went to the town supermarket. I had been relying on my mom for so long, I decided to cook for her, so I went shopping. Holding a shopping basket full of items, I lined up at the checkout and couldn't believe my eyes. Linda, my ex-wife, was working the cash register. What was Linda doing here? Her hair was longer, and she looked thinner, but it was unmistakably Linda. I changed lines to avoid being seen and quickly paid, then went to sit in my car to think about what had just happened. Why is Linda here? Had she returned to her hometown? What happened to the person she said she loved? My mind was in chaos, in a state of panic. I couldn't just let this go. Eventually, I parked my car next to the employee entrance of the supermarket and decided to wait for her to come out and talk to her. Calling her wouldn't make her come out, and I couldn't just show up at her family's home. This store was closing in another 2 hours. I thought waiting and talking to her directly was the best option. Then, Linda passed by, hauling her bicycle. Linda, I shouted, jumping out of the car. Linda looked shocked, her eyes wide open. Max, what are you doing here? She asked, looking down, tears welling up in her eyes. What am I doing? What about you? She seemed restless as she spoke. Do you have time tomorrow? I'll email you. Okay, I'll wait for your message. Then, see you tomorrow. With those words, she got on her bicycle and left. On my way home, I received an email from her saying to meet at Amore, a cafe near the train station, at noon tomorrow. I spent a sleepless night and headed to the meeting place with my mind in a haze. As I opened the door at the cafe, Linda was already there. She looked tired, with swollen eyelids, maybe from a sleepless night too. I sat down in front of her and ordered a coffee, then quickly drank some water. My heart was pounding, seeing her after such a long time. There were so many things I wanted to ask, but I didn't know where to start. Linda was looking down all the time. There was a long silence. She was the first to break it. I'm sorry, I couldn't find the words to reply. Have you been well? That was all I could muster. Then she suddenly covered her face with both hands and started crying. How can I be okay? I had to leave you, whom I wanted to be with. What are you talking about? You said you fell for someone else and wanted a divorce. I asked, confused, looking at her crying. Then she started to reveal something shocking. I never told you, but I have a 3-year-old daughter from my previous marriage. My ex-husband started to believe I was cheating on him, got furious, and demanded a divorce unilaterally. No matter how much I denied it, he wouldn't believe me, and the verbal abuse and fights just increased. I couldn't take it anymore and agreed to the divorce. Of course, I wasn't allowed to see my daughter afterward. Then, out of the blue, I got a call. He was living with his mother, who was taking care of our daughter, but she passed away, and he got all and said he couldn't take care of her anymore. I couldn't leave my child with him, but I also couldn't bring her to our home. So, I thought the only option was to divorce you and go back to my hometown to take care of her. Tears kept falling from her eyes. I've been struggling every day, wondering what to do. I couldn't bother you with my problems, but I didn't want to leave you. There hasn't been a day I haven't thought of you. It's my fault. I had something so important and got married. That's terrible, she said in a weak voice, crying aloud. I knew she had been divorced, but I didn't know about the child. I wished she hadn't kept it a secret, but knowing she had suffered alone all this time filled me with an overwhelming sense of heartache. I'm sorry too, Linda. I was so wrapped up in my own issues that I didn't listen to your problems. Whether you have a child or not, my love for you doesn't change. I grasped her hand, holding a handkerchief firmly with both of mine. Dad, I've brought some vegetables with Grandma. Serve these pickles at the restaurant too, she said. Oh, thanks. These cucumbers are really good, I replied. After that, I quit the bar I was working at, sold my house, and came back to my family home. Now, I'm living here with Linda and her child. Somehow, I've started being called Dad by her daughter, and it makes me feel a bit shy every time. Then, I opened a small bar in our town. The restaurant is famous for its healthy menu made with vegetables grown by my mom and is bustling with customers every day. Honey, oh, Max, should we also serve this onion? She asked. Yeah, it's made with good fertilizer. Tastes great, I said. That's true. Linda is helping out at the restaurant too. My dad, who had been hospitalized, is now out of the hospital and comes to the restaurant for his rehabilitation. A few years ago, I never would have imagined returning to my hometown, opening a bar, living with my parents, Linda, and her child. There were many tough times, but they made me realize how happy I am now. Looking at everyone in the restaurant, I felt energized. All right, let's do our best today. I've delivered your package. I'm John Anderson, 32 years old. I worked for a logistics company in New York, delivering office products for businesses. But due to the recession, our client companies struggled financially. It impacted our company too. Eventually, the company owner, Morgan, who is already elderly, made the tough decision to shut down the business. And I, as an employee, faced the unfortunate situation of losing my job while still young. I was very fortunate that I managed to get a job at a bigger logistics company. There was even an opening at their branch in my hometown. Around the same time, my father fell ill and was hospitalized. Thinking about my mother's burden and being an only child, I had been wondering if my returning home was the best choice for my family. I ended up accepting the position at their branch with this new company, and that gave me an opportunity to start a new life in my hometown. In early October, when it began to get colder, I moved back to my hometown with loads of luggage. My new company was a major firm, a famous enterprise with many branches. It was quite a change for me as the company I previously worked for in New York was a lot smaller one with only 100 employees. The night before my first day at work, I got so nervous I couldn't sleep. Then came the first day with the new company. During the morning assembly, Edward, the branch manager, briefly introduced me to everyone at present and also asked me to say a few words. Nervously, I stood in front of everyone. Good morning. My name is John, and I have joined the company as a mid-career employee.